Hello everyone and welcome. This is RC Radio. We're going to go ahead and cover Photoshop 101, basic tips for digital drawing and illustrators. Let's jump right in it. Hey everyone, welcome. This is part 2 of Photoshop 101 basics. I covered a lot of the hotkeys in the last session. I'm trying out a new microphone here. Something a little more higher quality because my last video turned out a little bit crackly. Got some comments on that. But yeah, I was going to go ahead and power through it, but I figured I'd make a video to hopefully you guys can get something from it. So let's begin. I'm going to be taking you through the hotkeys I use again, and sketching in Photoshop is the name of the game here. And I've already started. Let's bring this up. V0. So that's where we left off on the last sketch when I ended the last video. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take you through my process. So I already started cleaning it up. B for brush. We have the neck. Very symmetrical. Okay, we have the shadow here. So I'm gonna knock this back, this layer right here, as you can see. I'm gonna knock that back to about number 4 on the keyboard. I'm just hitting number 4. So here's 1, here's 8, here's 4. So I'm going on my P pencil level, and the B is for background. So now that I have everything roughed in, I'm using a single line here, but I can go real light with it, or I can go heavy, and it's not quite ready for the thick and thin, the real razor sharp work. This is what I would call line variance, or line thick to thin, and you can get a lot of different effects with it, but I'm gonna stay with the single line here while I'm doing this, because ultimately I'm gonna paint over this. I'm gonna show you guys how to paint over it as well. So H for hand, it'll move the canvas around. Command plus, I use the H button. The space bar gives me the hand. I can move it all around the canvas, nice and easy. So, her hair. Let's go ahead and start to rough that in. Again, you want to give her curly cues. So, let's back up. Minus, command minus. Give her some cute earrings. A little reflection in the eye. This will help not make it look so weird. D for default. X, we'll switch it back and forth. You see it switching there? Right over here. So I'm going to go to white, kind of lighten up her eyes a little bit. Coming together, X, bring that to a charcoal, bracket down. That gives me my line here. Got Got our earrings roughed in. Got this kind of crazy hairdo. Eyebrow. Nice open expression. Catching a lot of glare on my glasses here. It's because it's late at night. I think it's from this light over here. Let's see. It doesn't really help that much. So, we went from this to this by having fun, using our tool set, and really adding, it got a lot looser, which is great. You want it to be sketchy. What I'm doing here is I'm adding some texture lines to her eyes here. I know it kind of looks a little freaky, but they'll get a little darker when they come up here. This would be almost black in here. Go a little darker. Clean that up. Come over here, clean that up. Gonna go back. So that's looking very fun, very cartoony. I'm using, as I mentioned, just a simple standard brush. I'm pretty happy with it. So now what I'm gonna do, just for sake of demonstration, I'm gonna duplicate this. Command or Control J. I'm gonna save that one. I'm going to actually start to paint on here. So I'm using the same brush, just a round brush, and I'm going to go with a medium gray, and I'm going to start to rough in, like I did before, some of the values. So here's one thing I want to point out. If you're using this and you do one continuous paint over without a second time, since the opacities drop, since the flows drop to 60%, you can get a nice even, and then when you come back, it'll give you even darker one for the shadow areas where the light is not going to catch, right? So speaking of light, why don't we establish our light source? Ears would be pushed back too. It would be the darkest near her ear and in this area. You're starting to see. So light source. Let's pick a light source. Well, since the eyes are reflecting here, let's pick our bracket down. Let's pick our light source from here. Alright. And let's bracket up. I'm going to hit the number 5 key, and we're going to create a cast shadow on this side of the face. Cheekbone, a little lighter there, and under the nose. And we're going to, that's the eye socket area, so that's going to cast a shadow as well. So now I'm adding the value, and then light's coming from here, shadow would fall here, and then I'm going to hit the D and then the X key. That'll give me a pure white, and then I'm going to hit some, bring it back up to 100% opacity, and I'm going to add some highlights in here that I want to boldly put in. So, let's review. Started with this in our last class, or session. Dropped that down, came up with this, and now here's where we are. So, you can see I need to draw a neck. Let's drop this down, V, and then 2. Let's go to the top layer, and bracket down. We want to pick that charcoal gray again, and we want to rough in the neck here on the top pencil layer, and That's where the shadow is. Cute little button nose, just like I wanted to make. Let's see. Do not. Okay, so let's take that off. Alright. So this is where we are. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and go to my brush, bracket up, option, I'm going to pick this color and start to, I kind of like it like this. I don't know if I want to add any more detail. I could sit here and render it for a long time. The purpose of this session was to show you how to sketch in Photoshop, and also giving you some ideas as well without completely rendering. But I'm going to use E for the eraser tool and kind of clean up some of this line here like that. I'm going to clean it up, get rid of the demo lines. B for brush, E for erase. You see how quickly I can move? B for brush. I'm going to add some texture and darken it up a little bit. Option gives you the picker color. I'm going to darken that up. The top of her lip would be dark, and there would be a pretty good shadow here under her nose, eyelashes. I could take this as far as I want. Brackets, just darken that up a little bit. This is going to be really dark. That's the inside of the mouth. Gonna add just a subtle rendering of the cheek. Let's give her a little cheek there. Let's go one stage darker on the eyes. You can kind of blend this. I like it pretty much the way it is. Bracket down. Give her some freckles. Nice and cute. And I guess we could darken up the hair a little bit, but I don't want to make this too long of a course. I'll do a part 3, I guess, and then we could finish it. But let's review what we've done today. We've went over the tools and the hotkeys to illustrate in Photoshop while getting a demo on cartoon character drawing. I think that's a pretty good deal. So I gotta go and edit this up and darken up her eyebrows. These are some of the details. Now at this point you could decide she's going to be a blonde, a brunette, a redhead, all depending on how you render it and how much detail we want to put into it. Keeping this one super loose, I'm going to use a texture brush, a big chunky black texture brush, and I'm going to add some texture in her hair here on the underneath. This is one of my square brushes. I love using it, and then I can see I'm adding this beautiful texture. Everything else is smooth, and see that? Look at that. That's awesome. I want to go darker in here, and hair, darker in here. Barely see her ears because her hair is so crazy. Gotta be careful not to use the texture everywhere. I just want to add a little bit of texture to her face, and then a nice shadow here. Not too dark. Control Command Z, like that. Go back to the circle brush, which is nice and smooth. Let's get a nice division there. Let's go to our little detail brush here and add a little detail. Really kind of clean up just a few spots. Cleaning up the eye now. Gonna clean up the lip. And you could take it in a couple different directions. You could make her face very thin and slender, or you can kind of add a little more volume to it. I'm going to use the big brush so it makes a nice smooth transition. Put a shadow from the lights coming from this side, as we mentioned here. Just as a reminder, that's our light source. Add a little rim lighting here on the side where the light's coming. That's called rim lighting. A little highlight on the jewelry so it looks shiny. Let's define this chin a little bit. I always, even though she's kind of looking down, I always kind of lose the chin. So we got a nice chin. I'm going to put a highlight on there. See how I brought that back? Without drawing a line, I'm drawing with shape and shadow, which will be a separate course I'll do. Alt, I'm holding down the Alt key just to pick colors really quick. We have our rim lighting here, which is our white. I'm going to pick it from the eye there. Right, I'm going to go even lighter here to the picker. Boom. That's looking good. I'm going to add a little bit of dark bracket down. I'm going to add a little bit of darkness to the back side of the jewelry. Maybe up here. Barely see her ears now, which is cool. Let's get that done. Now I could go in and, you know, add some detail here for curls. I like to use this brush, which I call the Rake Brush. I like to use it sparingly and just kind of get some texture in there. A little too much. Oh, a little too hot, actually. Okay, we're gonna go D. I'm gonna add some darks in here with the Rake Brush. There you go. I really don't want to take it much further, but you go ahead and this is me being lazy. Give it the signature. Boom. How's that? Yep. I'll teach you guys how to make custom brushes too. I did this once. I did it perfect, and then I turned it into a brush. I've been doing that for years. Well, there you have it. Let's review a few more things, and then we'll wrap this up. We have where we left off. Started with that. We went to here. We talked about line weight and consistency. And then this is what we ended up with, a nice grayscale illustration. Another thing that I did today was doodles. I did a bunch of doodles, and these doodles were warm-ups. They were part of the warm-ups, and I just got a little bored today, so I went ahead and had a little fun and cleaned up those doodles and warm-ups. So I just wanted to share that with you guys as well. So there you have it. This is part 2. And there's one of my other pieces in color, just so you guys can kind of see what's going on there. I'll run you through that. There's another setup that I'm doing. Here's some reference that I used. On today's drawing, I didn't use any reference at all. It was 100% from my mind, and this is what we came up with. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial and learning hotkeys and how to sketch in Photoshop. Alright, this is RC Radio. Thanks for joining. Ciao for now.